Trump and Musk return to fourth grade with the ridiculous fight. What's up, everybody? Welcome aboard to Bubba's Bottom Line for Sunday, June the 8th. And time is flying by. Markets continue to try to go higher. The economy is still a mess. And here we are. In the meantime, our fearless leader, President Trump, who I am a fan of, but again, some of the things, this fight with Elon Musk, and Elon Musk, the two are acting as if they were back in fourth grade. Kind of silly when you think about it. And we have, there's rumors of Black MAGA and this whole thing where corporations should take over the country. And the truth of the matter is the United States is a business. It should be run like a business. And unfortunately, it's not. And we've got the continued battle between two very powerful people with egos the size of the world. And it needs to be resolved. I mean, I think Elon Musk is a very good cog. I think Trump can be a great president. And unfortunately, we are still dealing or living in the Biden economy as we try to wind our way out. But again, you don't turn everything over, and there's a lot of things that are starting to expire out. But we will get back in shape. But again, there are some issues, and the past 4 years before we're in now, have been an absolute nightmare. But we are seeing the adjustments. But of course, we still have a lot of problems to work through, and one would be the anti-Semitism. The FBI and the Department of Homeland Security's warned a threat to the Jewish community after Boulder. Well, I don't know where they've been, but this hate and these things about the anti-Semitism has been going on. I think it's about 2.5 years now, starting at Columbia. So what are they waiting for? Another bunch of bullshit. But there you have it. And of course, don't you wish you had friends with benefit with Stacey Abrams, who funneled $20 million to her lawyer? Isn't that a nice little perk? I wish I could get that perk. And you know, I think that we keep hearing and talking about this big beautiful bill, and there's senators that don't want it, both Republican and Democrat, but obviously more Democrat, but Republicans don't want. But here's the problem with these big all-inclusive bills. The issue comes down to that there's so many compromises made to put something else in. You turn something that might be good into bullshit and into crap, and all these other things get snuck in. And the big beautiful bill is not that good. Okay. Again, the bottom line is it's adding to the deficit that we already have. It is time that government gets to the real core issue, and that's budgeting themselves correctly. And we'll talk about that in our commentary. But rate cut odds plunge after payrolls beat. Trump demands full point cut. Trump can demand anything he wants. He's wrong. The Fed is wrong. We don't need a rate cut. Inflation is still soaring. The only thing that is possibly keeping inflation lower right now is the low cost of fuel. Okay. And of course, you have OPEC trying to get involved in this fuel thing. They're trying to prevent our frackers and shale producers and drillers here. So they're lowering their price, which is helping us, the consumer. But the overall bottom line of everything else is not coming down in price yet. It's going to take some time to have these prices filter through, and to have the assholes at Walmart and companies like that before they start to bring prices down. Okay, there's always, anytime you have these price increases, you have these inflationary times, and you have things that go on. The hike of prices is always fast, and the coming back down is always slow. It just allows them to make more profit. And I urge you to look at and see what happens with their profits. There's the answer. It isn't what they tell you. Look at their profits, look at the bottom line when they report their earnings. Okay. I think a big telling thing, you know that I've said this for quite a while, and I still believe that we're in a recession. I don't think it's going to be over that soon. Now, again, listen, there's been a big downturn and the sale of RVs. And already Winnebago is warning about their earnings. Well, again, who can afford them? Okay. The big thing here is rate cuts, is high interest rates. The big thing here is the lack of money. The big thing here is people are not working as much. People are not making as much, and we're having an issue to be able to make ends meet. So where's the RVs going to come from? You look at the market participation, and again, at the end of the day, you have an issue. Okay, there's not that many participants. Many people have given up their 401ks because they can't afford, they think they can't afford, although they're giving up 4%, but they think they can't afford to put their money away. And again, that would go back to budgeting your own money. So I think that's also an issue. Uh, we do have some of the things that Doge was working on, and some more, another 9.4 billion cut in waste. So we're on the right track. Of course, obviously, the author of and the appointee of are battling like children, but I think we can get this back to going. And you know, I think that we see Trump asking the Supreme Court to allow him to destroy the Department of Education. I agree 1,000%. The Department of Education is a waste of time, a waste of money, because we are not doing anything. We're not doing what a Department of Education should do. Okay, our whole rank in the world rankings is 40th. Okay, so obviously the Department of Education is not doing its job. Uh, you know, we have a problem in this country, which has been going on, and this is a bipartisan problem. Okay, child labor. Okay, obviously we've tried to skirt the child labor laws. They were put in place, and of course they don't stay in place. And of course this is almost some third world. But of course when you have politicians that close their eyes, and again it doesn't matter which side of the aisle you're on, they both kind of close their eyes to what's going on because they're getting paid off. Okay. This is no different than some of the trafficking that goes on throughout the world. Okay. They get paid off. And again, remember, life comes down to two things. One is always money. Okay. Uh, but at the end of the day, the production declining. Okay. Labor costs are soaring. But of course, there's an interesting stat that came out. We lost 625,000 jobs between the JOLTS report and the jobs report. We're missing, or not missing, we've lost 625,000 jobs. So what does that tell you? So there's another issue that we continue to ignore, we continue to overlook. Again, think about it. You can't keep pushing and brushing everything underneath the carpet. Okay, you cannot keep doing those things. You have to at some point fess up and take a look at it. And of course, the the overall setup that we are watching is incorrect, from the banking system to the Federal Reserve to what we're trying to get done to rebuilding this country. I go back to what I said last week. You want to fix a lot of the problems in this country, you go to nuclear power. And a very wise person said to me that instead of building just a couple of big nuclear plants, you can build small little ones to service areas all over so nobody feels at risk. Now, again, I don't feel at risk. They can put one across the street from me as far as I'm concerned. I think that you want to solve everybody's problem. You want to get everybody on the same page. You want to stop the graft. You want to stop the stealing. You want to stop the crap. You want to quit wasting the land for those ridiculous wind farms. Go to nuclear power, you solve all the problems. That takes care of the environment, that takes care of everything else. I don't know. That's the way that I would look at it. And again, we've got too many issues, too much court, too many Supreme Court decisions which shouldn't have to be made. Those are things that need to be changed. There's a lot of changes that need to be done. I think that President Trump is working on them, but it's going to take time to get it done. And I do believe that we're going to see some pain first before we see pleasure, which is what doesn't make sense about these markets right now. But in the meantime, we're going to stop out here for a break, and we'll come back with our market update right after the break. Bubba's Bottom Line, Sunday, June the 8th. What's up, everybody? Well, again, we have sponsors for this show, and of course, most of them are brokers. And again, I don't recommend you go to any one broker. I do share with you who I use, and I share with you why I use them. And again, I think it's worth your while to check them out. But again, I'm not telling you to go anywhere. I'm giving you what I think is better for you. In the meantime, it is TRADIER Brokerage, which is $10 a month. Saves me $100,000 a year on commissions. All of our automation and equities goes through TRADIER. Certainly want to check it out. Great. Okay. TRADIER Brokerage. On the bottom, scrolling, you can get their website. And of course, Capital Trading Group, our partner in many futures products, especially our brand new ratio product, which is doing tremendously. So you want to check them out. And of course, ITM Trading, which is for all your physical gold and silver needs. I've been buying for them for 25 years. And of course, Danielle Cambone is now their spokesperson. And of course, our high school program, which again, we'd love to re-educate this country. And of course, our brand new partnership and that I'm an investor in, Joy of Mom, which is an unbelievable site for moms. It's a great thing to look at. Check it out. In the meantime, let's get back to Bubba's Bottom Line with me, Todd Bubba Horwitz, on Sunday, June the 8th. Welcome back. It is Sunday. It is June the 8th. And of course, markets were higher again this week. And interesting, there's a lot of issues in the market, but they continue to kind of climb that wall of worry. And that is one of the things. But I think what you're really looking at is the overall lack of participation in the markets. I think there's a lot of illiquidity in markets right now, which when you think about it, that would make sense that there's not many people in. And I mentioned earlier about the 401ks. I think a lot of people are not putting in their 401ks anymore because they don't feel they can afford to. But remember, if you're one of those who stopped, you got to go back. You're giving up a free 4% on your money with most 401k programs. You put in 4%, your employer puts in 4%, so for a total of 8, that's 8% that you don't have to pay taxes on. And if you can't figure out a way to cut back somewhere else, then shame on you. Again, you cannot give away that free money. It's hard to get, and it is free for working there. So, anyways, markets are markets. Again, we're not going to tell you that they're going down. I mean, we are starting to get short a few things now. I do think that if we're not near the top or at the top, it's very soon. And again, I don't mean that we're going to collapse and they're never going to go up again. I mean that we're due and ready for some pretty good selling. And I think that's coming shortly. But in the meantime, as we look at the markets, the four major indices, we are going to be short. Well, we are short now, the NASDAQ as of Friday. Again, we were sold it when it was up big, so no matter where it ended up at. And we're flat the other three. But again, I think that you're starting to see a reach of a top, and I would expect to see a pullback of probably minimum of 6, 7, 8, 10%. In the meantime, in the dollar is still hovering low. Now we don't trade the dollar because it's a fee that we'd have to pay, and why should I pay them when I can trade something else to take its place? But we would be long dollars if we did trade it. Euro currency, we're still short. Notes were short. Bonds were long. Bitcoin, we're short. Gold, we are flat. And again, it's got more room to go to the downside before we get long. Silver, we are flat, which had a nice big up. It's finally is nice to see the ratio of gold silver come in a little bit. Platinum continues to explode. Now, this is interesting. This is going straight up and is making highs not seen for a while. Maybe it'll catch up to gold because at one time it was twice gold. Copper, we're still long. Corn, we're still long. And the cattle market's still looking for a place to sell. Again, they just keep going up. So I'm not, as I tell you always, don't fight the tape, don't fight the market. So the cattle continues to push higher, and we're going to look to sell it. Hogs, we're going to look to sell those as well at some point now. Natural gas is rallied a little bit, but we're still flat. And crude was higher, and broke through the 64 resistance I was looking at, and we're along that as well. But again, overall, the real problem here is the lack of liquidity, the lack of volume, the lack of participation. And I think that is more important than anything else because that tells you that there's not lots to do in the market and to be very, very careful. In the meantime, let's step out for our final break and come back with my commentary right here on Bubba's Bottom Line, Sunday, June the 8th. Well, kids, what's up? Just again, just a quick reminder, TRADIER Brokerage, Capital Trading Group, ITM Trading, Joy of Mom, and of course our high school program, all scrolling along sides in the bottom. Check them out. Again, you might see something that's pretty good for you. In the meantime, let's get back to Bubba's Bottom Line with me, Todd Bubba Horwitz, and of course our commentary. Welcome back. It is Bubba's Bottom Line. It is Sunday, June the 8th. And again, we talked about it earlier. The Federal Reserve, Donald Trump, it's all bullshit. Okay. We do not need a rate cut. Okay. We need the markets to trade freely. We do not need to make the banks richer and give them more money because again, just if you go back to those thrilling days of yesteryear, and you know the Fed cut 100 basis points last year. Since the cut has made that 100 basis points point cut, the 10-year notes, which is what your interest rates are based off, have gone up 100 basis points. So basically, the banks are making 2% more. What you have not saved a dime. Mortgage rates are hovering around 7.5%. Loans are higher. Everything is higher. Housing market is coming in because, of course, for years the housing market was based on interest rates. Okay, cheap payment, I can afford the house. So now the sellers, which we now have a massive inventory of houses, the sellers don't want to sell because they think their house is worth more, but now it's worth less because the money's worth more. It's a shell game. Okay. And I can understand why Donald Trump wants rates to come down because it gives you the artificial look of a true economy, of a good economy, which is false. Okay. Money should be determined and market should be determined by free market trade and price discovery. And the fact of the matter is that if you're borrowing money from anywhere, you're paying a lot more today. And that is the free market speaking, because when you go to the peer-to-peer lenders, people are paying 12, 13, 14, 15%. So again, I know somebody just took a loan now that's going to pay 14%. So again, rates should be determined by the free market, not by the Federal Reserve, because they're idiots and they have no clue. They're still using the dot plots from 1913. Okay. We need to have a free market determine interest rates, not anyone, because anyone can't make that decision. But anybody who makes that decision has a reason. And I know why President Trump's reason. Again, I get it, but it's incorrect and it's wrong. Okay. It only helps those who really have lots of money because the average guy or gal on the street does not benefit from the Federal Reserve cutting their rates. That is simply the bottom line. And that'll do it for today. Have a great weekend, everybody. As always, I thank you for being here. And this was Bubba's Bottom Line. Enjoy the weekend. We'll see you later, everybody.